Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We said yesterday afternoon that we might have a few Nebraska commitments to talk about, and we got our first one coming in this morning on signing day as three-star safety Camir Prescott from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania commits to Nebraska. And two things that stand out before we take a dive deeper into Camir Prescott, take a look at what he brings to the table. One, joining this Nebraska program as a walk-on. And this is not the first time you've seen Matt Rhule and this staff get creative in their ability to bring in as many quality football players into this program as they can, and kind of using the NIL to maybe allow you to bring in more scholarship-worthy bodies is going to be massive for this Nebraska team. I mean, Nebraska and Matt Rhule preach depth, they preach competition, and the more bodies and quality depth that you can bring into this program, the better this program is going to be for the next couple of years. And a guy like Camir Prescott joining Nebraska as a walk-on, holding offers from Wisconsin, Texas A&M, Penn State, I think is a massive get for this Nebraska program. And the second thing that to me really sticks out is he's a guy that is really physically gifted at 6'1", 190, needs a little bit more polish, and you'll see that on the film, but a guy with really high upside, but most importantly, versatility. And when you turn on the film for Camir Prescott, you'll see him play a box safety role. You'll see him play that nickel role. You'll see him play that deep safety role. And we've talked about this for Nebraska. And one of the biggest traits that Tony White is looking for specifically in that back end of the defense is versatility, the ability to do a lot of different things. And I think Camir Prescott, from a scheme standpoint, really fits what Nebraska wants to do on the defensive side of the football. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Isaac Gifford in terms of a safety that can play in the back end, but you love when he's around the football, around the line of scrimmage, because he's athletic. He's extremely physical at the point of attack. Want to get into Camir Prescott, talk a little bit about what he brings to this Nebraska program. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. And as always, a massive shout out to the Nebraska fans. We hopped on later last night, talked about what Nebraska is doing on the recruiting trail, kind of said this 2024 class, it just feels special in terms of what they can do over the next couple of years. It has been a blast covering this program on the recruiting trail. The amount of support, it always means a lot from the Nebraska fans. If y'all do enjoy the content, you enjoy the updates, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Camir Prescott. And I think the first thing you want to talk about here is we talked about the versatility in terms of the ability to play a lot of different roles in the back end of the defense, which again, extremely vital in what Tony White wants to do in terms of mixing up the looks, mixing up the pressure and coverage packages. But most importantly, I think what excites me the most about Camir Prescott is the upside he has as an athlete. And you're starting to see Nebraska really value those kind of prospects on the recruiting trail. Guys that are really fast, guys that have extreme athleticism, might need a little bit more polish, but have that upside. Camir Prescott, I think, has that, right? 6'1", 190, extremely physical, very good tackler. You take a look at what he does on track and field, running a 10.99 100-meter dash. This is a guy that's a big body. He has that length, and he has that speed. And I think that combination really excites you about a prospect like Camir Prescott, probably a guy that doesn't play immediately for Nebraska, but come 2025, 2026, you might be talking a little bit more about Camir Prescott and what he can do for this Nebraska secondary. Want to get into the film a little bit, talk about what we've seen. And the first thing you're going to see is the physicality. In this first play, you're probably targeting at the next level. You got to make sure you keep your head up. But you do see, one, the instincts, firing downhill, and the willingness to play physical. Obviously, you see the fact, but you like to see the physicality at the point of attack for Camir Prescott. Second rep you see is just kind of a heady position where he's playing that deep safety role, reading the quarterback's eyes when that football's in the air, using that big frame, going up, making a play, good after the catch there. You kind of like what he can do in the back end. And then the next rep you're going to see here. So you see him kind of play that deeper zone really well as a deep safety. Now you're kind of seeing him play that box safety, that nickel role where he's following a wide receiver in man coverage. And you see, he's a fluid athlete, right? A little out route, breaks on the football, makes a play. can hold up in man coverage. You see the man coverage again, smooth back pedal. You probably want to see that get cleaned up a little bit, but you see the athleticism breaking on the football. You see the length, getting his hand in there in the throwing window. Those are type of the things that, in my mind, you can't teach. You can teach a little bit more of that smoothness in the back pedal and those transitions. But from a physical trait standpoint, that's probably what you like to see the most. Now you look at Camir Prescott. This is where the Isaac Gifford comp for me comes in, right? Playing that safety role. This is a guy that wants to get downhill, wants to be physical at the point of attack. He fires downhill, runs the alley, fits the running back in the hole. Probably want to see him wrap up, but he does get the football knocked out. A guy that is willing to be physical in the box. And we talk about this. That is, probably one of the most important aspects is you see a lot of guys who have the ability to be physical in the tackle box. Are they willing to be physical in the tackle box? A guy like Camir Prescott is willing to be physical in the tackle box. Again, kind of playing that box safety role, walked in. You see him play with good leverage, snuff it out, go close the distance, make a play in space. That's where I like him the most. He seems to be most comfortable when he's around the line of scrimmage, being able to use that physicality and that size. Another rep here. I like the versatility that you see. Again, playing kind of that nickel role, breaking on the football. Probably want to see him come up with that one. But there's a lot to like about what Camir Prescott brings to the table. And you look at this Nebraska class, we talked about it yesterday, the highest ranked class since 2019. It's a really complete class, obviously, with the quarterback position, the offensive line. Now, the last box that you want to see checked is on that defensive line. Keona Willate set to sign his paperwork later this afternoon. Might have to hop on, do another Nebraska update later today. We'll keep you guys updated, but another really, really nice commitment for Matt Rhule for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.